Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Scary Stories by the Campfire. We are your hosts, Jeremy,
And Jason.
and tonight we are looking at a movie that, in my opinion, I don't know if we can consider it horror, but they do. The 1971 Willard. And as you can probably tell a little bit from the background, I am in a new apartment. Just got to get it set up. But Jason,
Except for the people who can't actually see you because they're listening on, Spotify or something. They can't see that you're in the new apartment, but he is in a new apartment.
so Jason, take it away on this. I guess would be horror, because let me just say this trailer was very misleading last week. It was a lot of misleading.
Okay, so me and Jeremy have a thing going on where, we decide on what movies to watch and who's it's and whatnots it's. And I specifically chose this movie because it's something I haven't seen. Right? I know of the hold on real quick, I'm changing my volume up a little bit. I am aware of the remake or the retelling or however they want to put it, but I actually did not know that there was a 1971 version of this movie. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I like this movie. This is just a nice little whimsical. I'm lying. It's not whimsical. It's not whimsical. The music's whimsical.
The music was very whimsical.
It has a very 1970s feel to it. I mean, it was made in the 70s, but
God,
it was just seemed like if you put this on, someone would think this was almost Willy Wonka, with just the way the music was playing. But I like this movie. I don't know how it's going to compare to like the remake, because I think the remake is supposed to be a bit more built on suspense. But did you know, Jeremy, that this movie was actually based off a book?
oh, yeah, I saw it in the credits. I didn't know
Yeah,
before that, but yeah.
this movie is based off a book. It's called I think they changed the name officially to like Willard. But the book was originally called Ratman's Notebook,
Yeah,
and
Ratman's Notebooks.
it's done in a first person perspective where it is like done as journal entries, and like it leads all the way up to the end of the book where he can hear the rats gnawing through um the attic door.
Yeah.
But so what overall, Jen, what did you think of this movie?
I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was really good. I felt like the trailer was very misleading. Because they're like, this is not a film you should watch alone.
No, it was definitely something I would watch alone. This is
It was a good movie, don't get me wrong. I'll watch it again. I would watch it again. I'd put it on right now and watch it again. But like I said, it was just very misleading. It definitely was not what I expected.
I think
I was expecting, because I think yeah, it was me. I made the Jeff Goldblum reference from Jurassic Park, where we were like over halfway through the movie, and we were just like, "Is there gonna be some horror in your horror movie, right? Correct? Hello."
yeah, you did that. You did that whole bit. That was pretty funny. Yeah, there's actually a couple of times during the movie I had to actually go back to IMDb and look at this and go, is this horror? And it is listed just as like horror itself. Um, so yeah, the movie itself, it follows we'll run through the plot of it. So the movie follows a man named Willard.
Played by Bruce Davison.
Yep. He actually makes yeah, I wouldn't even really call it a cameo, but in the remake, you'll see. I guess there's like a picture on the wall, like a family photo. And in the remake, Crispin Glover plays the role of Willard. Well, this actor, he plays his cameo, quote unquote, is he's the he plays the dad in a picture. So he plays the dead father character. But so Willard here is he's a bit of a kind of a weird character. I mean, he's not weird in the sense that he's just kind of this kind of out there character. He gets bullied a lot by everybody.
That was the true horror of this movie. The bullying from work from his boss and staring at his mom and aunt.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't his aunt, was it?
Yes. Charlotte Stassen.
All I know is that this poor guy had it rough all the way around. It introduces him. He's at work, and he's leaving for the day, and his boss is like, he pulls up with his like little henchman guy right there. I don't know exactly who that is, but he rolls up and he's like, "Hey, did you forget something?" It's like, well, I don't think so. He's like, you sure you didn't forget anything? And Willard's like, "Oh man, I forgot that paperwork on my desk." He's like, "Yeah, don't worry about it. I got it for you. I don't, want to see you, like 9 in the morning." Then poor Willard misses the bus, and he ends up getting home late, and apparently it's his birthday. And everyone's like, "Happy birthday!" It's a bunch of old people. Guess they're all like friends of the family. They're not necessarily his friends per se, but they're friends of the family. And not only does he have to work all day at work, sometimes nights, most weekends, but then he also has to deal with his, I would say, semi-abusive mother. I'm gonna go with semi-abusive mother, even though she's not like outwardly like abusive towards him. It's more of what she just talks about, like how she doesn't like him being alone, and how he needs to find like a girl to settle down with, and all this stuff, right? And she just keeps hounding him about it.
Uh,
I think there was much more to it than that, but yeah, she's got him like fixing things around the house, doing the yard work, and and the bulging eye friend. Remember her, Jeremy?
yes.
Yes, manipulative and guilt tripping. Yes, very. That was the mother character, kind of. She was just very like, "Oh, I wish my TV would work." No one would leave Willard alone. Then I guess he found a couple rats in the backyard, and I guess his mom had caught sight of him at some point. She's like, "You need to kill the rats," and he was just gonna drown the rats. He just took them out there, put them on that little rock in the middle of that pond, and was gonna drown them, I guess.
Yep.
Is that the most effective way to do that?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. But they were on that little rock, and they started squeaking, doing their little mouse calls or rat calls. Or technically, I think they're rats, but I think a couple of the smaller ones were actually mice. I'm not entirely sure about that, but he feels bad, and he rescues them, and they kind of become his friends. And then more show up. Wow, getting very descriptive there. The most humane way is a quick, hard hit to the head. Wow, that's
So kind of off topic, really quick.
Yeah.
Do you know who he plays? I didn't
Who
recognize. I didn't recognize it at first until I started
Who does
reading.
he play?
That's Senator Kelly from the original X-Men trilogy.
I can actually see it in his face now. I'm looking at the picture. Yeah, I can see that. I think I was like, who is this guy? And I think that popped up, and I was like, oh, is that him? And then it just kind of right past. Um,
Yeah, I didn't know that.
hmm, very interesting. Very very interesting. Um,
He's been in a lot of stuff.
oh, I'm sure he has. Yeah, that's the senator guy. I'm looking like at the picture right now, and I can now see him.
Oh, what, Senator
Tur-
Kelly?
Yeah, turning into a big blob of water.
Yeah, when he dies.
Well, I mean, in the first movie, he just kind of he's there. He's kind of, and then he just kind of in the water, and
He's
yeah,
also in Insidious,
Insidious.
The Last Key.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't see that one. I didn't watch any of the Insidiouses. I'll have to watch those.
And then he's also plays in Ozark for 6
Insidious.
episodes.
Insidious is a horror film series, so we'll get. And so he'll be popping back up on our playlist here in a little while. At some point, he'll pop up here. But so he takes these rats in and befriends them, and then one of them shows up, and it's a white rat. Jeremy, what does he name that white rat?
Oh, God, it begins with an S. I don't know why I'm drawing a
Very
mind blank.
very
Socrates.
Greek. Socrates, yes. Actually, in the book, I think they describe it as like a little brown rat or whatever with a white belly. But I guess in the films, they use a white rat altogether. And that little white rat is so sweet and adorable. Look at that! Look at that thing. It actually makes me. I've actually been talking to Ravenfire. I was like, man, I want to get a couple of rats. That's what I want. I want a couple of rats. But he ends up with this rat, and it becomes like his best friend, right? His best friend, little rat. And eventually, the other rat shows up, the big rat.
Ben.
Ben, yes, Ben. I think actually in the remake they refer to him as Big Ben because he's a big rat. He's like he becomes kind of the antagonist towards the end of the movie, but I think it's based off of perspective. But he's not Willard's favorite. He has to stay with the other rats. So, yes, friends don't stand by while their friends are butchered. Yes, friends don't really do that.
Friends don't lie.
But I think fully growing up, throughout his life, Willard has had no backbone. He's pretty much let people walk all over him.
Yep.
And I think that's the tragic part of this entire movie is that Willard is, at least in this one, I don't know how they play him off in the remake, but I know in this one he doesn't feel like the bad guy. He's got all this, he's got all these people who are telling him what to do, and he's just not allowed to think for himself. And he finally gets these rats where he can make friends and whatnot. And so he starts training them, starts teaching them and talking to them. Eventually he starts taking them to work. Well, just the two. Just Socrates and Ben. He isn't taking his whole basement full of rats. And what? Nobody asked you, 11. Friends don't stand by while their friends are butchered. Friends don't lie. That's actually the first thing I thought of as soon as I read that. Friends don't, and I just want to say lie, but Um, so he uses the rats for a couple different things. He uses them to ruin his boss's anniversary party, and I'm just gonna say this out loud. People have a phobia of rats in this movie for some reason. Like every time they see a rat, they're like running for the fences.
They look like one of those cartoon elephants that sees a mouse.
Yeah, these people are ridiculous. I can understand if like you're standing there and like 15, 16 rats fall on you, but it's just like 3 or 4, and they're always like in the background. Yes, most people hate rats. I don't understand why. I mean, yeah, I guess it depends. Like the big giant wild rats, the ones like in New York.
Oh, the big
Yeah, they
sewer
were talking about
rats.
the ones like the ones that are like the size of cats. Um,
The big sewer rats.
hey, what up with you? How's it going? It's going all right. The evac Carl. It's going all right. Thanks for joining us. We are discussing the movie Willard. Um, but yeah, I mean, like I said, I think these rats are kind of cute. They're all cute little rats. But so he ends up robbing someone with the rats, and they're dirty, they carry diseases, and their tails gross people out. Well, I mean, they can be dirty, and yes, they can carry diseases. People do that too. Well, you can't blame the Black Plague on them. That was the fleas that they were carrying, of course, but it was the fleas. Um. So yeah, and his whole thing was revolved around them trying to get his house.
I know, like everybody wanted him to sell this house. It didn't matter who they were, and everyone hated when he wouldn't, especially the aunt.
Yeah, the boss had a reason. The boss was like, "I'm gonna buy the property, knock down the house, and build like a condo, right?
Yeah,
A bunch of condos there or whatever." That was his primary goal. That's what he's doing. And then he was gonna fire Willard for that.
yeah, and then just let him go.
Yeah. No one would leave him alone about the house. Oh, the house is too big for you. You don't need a house that big. It's his family house.
I know, but does that house look familiar, Jason?
I mean, not really.
It was used in another popular movie in 1988.
What house, Jeremy?
Their house, the
Yeah,
Willard
I
house.
mean,
Oh,
what movie was it? Their house.
Elvira,
Oh, Elvira. When you
Mistress of
said
the
L,
Dark.
I was like, when you said L, I was like, it's not the Elm Street house.
No, it's Elvira.
Don't try to slide that in there. It's not the Elm Street house. Elvira? Is that a horror thing or is that just kind of comedy with
Both.
both? No, I'll have to put that one on the podcast too.
But yeah,
Um,
they use the same house.
Very interesting. I didn't know that. There's a lot of neat little facts that especially about like houses and stuff and how they reuse houses for different movies and such. But yeah, so Willard finds out he finds out he's going to get fired because he's not selling the house. The boss is like, "Well, I'll just fire him. He'll run out of money and then he'll have to sell the house." Bit extreme.
Yeah.
So Willard ugh. Willard took Socrates and Ben up to his work, and he found out he was getting fired, and the one of the ladies there found the rats in the filing room or whatever where they keep all the filing paperwork and stuff. And so the boss went in there, found Socrates, and killed him. Killed him with a rod.
Like
Or
poked
a
him.
pole or something, like almost like a broom handle. He just kind of jammed him with it and killed him. And Willard, the entire time, didn't do a thing. I do believe that is because of his I do believe that is because of his Willard's nature to just let people do what they do, and kind of walk over him, and he felt really bad about it, and he kind of took it out on Ben. You know, he was just like, you just move. So he ended up going back, having this kind of mental breakdown, decided he's going to take it out on his boss, and he brought all those rats. Brought all the rats to his the office, and promptly, yeah, I would say attempted to kill his boss, but his boss jumped out of like the third story window when he was covered in rats. He jumped out the window and probably killed himself.
You brought up a good point when we were watching the movie of just when they were doing that scene that you could just see the rats just being thrown.
I think there's like stagehands like behind the camera just tossing the rats or tossing fake rats. I hope they're really not throwing like live rats, but it was the 70s. I mean, we already talked about the fact that um, Friday the 13th they killed that snake on set, which was, awful. But I really do hope they weren't actually butchering any rats or anything like that. Yeah, we know. I don't want to necessarily think he just committed suicide, like he was trying to kill himself. I think when you got 20 something rats on you chewing, you just kind of, when you just jump out the window and he's freaking out and he just kind of pops out the window and doesn't realize maybe how high he is. But Willard, he kind of sees what happens, kind of freaks out, and tells Ben that Ben, just stay there. I don't want to do this no more. And he goes back to his place and proceeds to drown all the rats. He proceeds to drown all the rats. He puts them up in little cages, takes them out back, and drowns them and buries them. At that point, Ben shows back up with a new army of rats and a little game of cat and mouse before Willard is attacked and killed in the attic by the rats.
Again, with stagehands throwing the rats at him from across the
with the
way.
stagehands tossing them up at him.
So-
It's a bit of a tragic movie in my opinion, and it's going to be interesting to compare this one to the remake, because like I said, I think the remake is built more on suspense than this one was. And this one didn't feel quite like a horror movie, but it is a very tragic movie.
So, the film's Spanish title is La Revolución de las Ratas, which translated to English means the Revolution of the Rats.
The Revolution of the Rats.
If I mispronounced that in Spanish, I apologize, but I didn't really go to Spanish class when I was in high school. But yeah, it's the Revolution of the Rats.
It was
Not
a
Willard.
tragedy. It was a tragedy, not a horror. Now, the biggest thing that I have about this, because I never read the book,
Neither did I.
I actually want to go out and see if I can find the book with the original title, the Rat Man's Notebook. I mean, if I have to find the one that says Willard, then I will. But I want the original title, and I think so. I can't really speak on the book itself, but I know, like, with Willard changing his mind, it makes the character seem a bit more
Human?
I don't know. He spent this entire movie letting people walk over him. He was like a human doormat this entire movie.
Yep.
And when he finally did start standing up to himself, or standing up for himself, was, when people were trying to get the house from him. Especially the boss, like, oh, sell me the house, sell me the house. He's like, no, I don't want to sell the house. Oh, the house is too big for you. You don't need a house this big. Get something smaller. I don't want the house. This is my house. Then he realized he had to pay like $2,500 in taxes to keep the house. And he went to all those so-called friends of his and was asking for money. Hey, I just need this money to keep the house. And they're like, you know what? No, you're not gonna get the money, man. And so when he finally got fired from his job, the job that I guess his dad started,
Yep.
um, and apparently the Martin is the boss. Apparently Martin had taken the company over, and I guess made Willard kind of a second-rate person and just kept bullying him around. And
You can
I
buy
think
the book, Jason, sorry to interrupt, on Amazon for $18.
18.
Paperback.
Oh, what if I think wait, I can't find it here locally in town?
I
I'll
mean,
have to check it. I'll take a look at like Barnes and Noble and stuff. I mean, I do find that these movies are interesting, the ones especially based off of books. Like I got The Ring, but I haven't read it yet. But yeah, so he takes the rats, and I think in a fit of rage and mental breakdown after the death of Socrates, he just loses it, and he's like, I'm gonna do what I should have done, and he takes the rats over to his sorry about that, the boss's place, or the office, because he was still at work. He takes the rats up there, and he's got it in his head that he is going to kill this man. That is his plan. He is just in that mindset. And then when he actually sees the dead body, to me, it hits him. Reality hits him. He's like, "Oh my God, what did I do?"
yeah.
Because he's making this speech beforehand, and it really does hit home. He's sitting there, he's telling his boss, he's like, "You made me hate myself. You made me hate myself. But now I love who I am." And then and then I think there's like a little tussle where the boss tries to fight back, and he opens up the door, and he pretty much lets the rats have him. And I think with all that pent up rage, he actually finally sees the result, and he's just like, wow, that's not me. I don't want anything to do with this. This is not me. And he pretty much tries to um he pretty much tells Ben that he doesn't want anything else to do, and he goes back home. And then that's when Ben really just kind of gets frustrated. Um, Shows back up, and then he tries to poison Ben, and Ben's not having it. And then, um, yeah, then he gets chased upstairs into the attic where he is eaten alive.
So I was looking at a couple of the goofs in the movie. And apparently, in that scene where Willard goes to the sink to add water to the rat poison that he's doing, you can see the rat wrangler's shadow as he reaches to remove Ben from the center island.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That was that was actually kind of a funny scene, because he's sitting there, he's got the thing, and he's every time he moves around that kitchen, Ben is like in the middle of that like little kitchen island, that on that little countertop island, and he's just sitting there, and he's watching. He's doing what a rat does, He's just kind of nibbling and doing whatever, and keeps showing him there, and then Willard's mixing up the stuff, and he stops, and he slowly starts to glance over, and the camera pans out, and Ben's not there, and it's almost like horror at that point. You're like, he's just like standing there, and he kind of slowly starts to turn his head real slow, and Ben's like looking at the box of pesticide, like he's reading it and sniffing it, and then he calls out, and all the other rats go rabid downstairs.
So early in the film, when he planned on drowning the rats, apparently Willard, the character, didn't know that rats are capable swimmers, and they could have easily just swam across the pool from the island and escaped. They wouldn't have drowned.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I mean, they're not. First of all, that rock was not below. If it was below the water level, it wasn't by very much. Like those rats could have stayed on that rock, and they wouldn't have drowned anyway.
Yeah.
They would have barely been in the water. But I think it's just the idea of like what he was doing. Um,
And then when Joan gave him the cat, she tells him that female cats are good company, while Chloe was actually played by a male cat.
yeah, you get a lot of those. Um, yes, Joan. Let's talk about Joan, shall we?
Oh yeah, I forgot she was even in the movie.
Uh, I mean, she was hired by Martin.
Except
to
for the
be-
end when Willard like frantically kicked her out.
Yeah, he threw her out. Surprised he didn't kick her on the way out. But no, Joan was like the only like positive role model. Well, role model, but positive aspect besides Socrates in Willard's life. Like she was a temp hired by the company to help him move faster, I guess, because he was so backed up on paperwork. But it didn't matter how much time Willard had, whether it was weekdays, weekends, nights. They just kept loading him down with a bunch of paperwork.
Yep.
So they hired her as a temp, and him and her
You're
kind
in
of
my
hit it
chat
off,
right
and they
now.
kind of, you know, became friends. And Martin was like, hey, if you can get Willard to sell me the house or whatever, she's like, nah, you do it yourself. And yeah, actually, her and Willard both got fired on the same day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she picked up her pink slip and was talking about how she knew it was she knew it was going to be it was a temp. She knew her day was going to come, but she wasn't entirely sure when. And then Willard found his, and mayhem ensued then. So, but yeah, and she got him a cat, and he ditched it pretty quick.
Oh, he threw it to that person that was
Was it like in a phone booth or something?
yeah.
Hey, could you hold this cat for a moment? And then boom, drove off. Left the cat there.
Yeah, like
Which is
forget
kind of
this.
sad because it's kind of sad because I like cats too.
I mean, that cat was trying to eat the rats through his freaking bag.
Yes. Yes. But I mean, overall, I like this movie. It does. I wonder. If there's. I'm sure you're aware, Jeremy. The Batman villain, Ratcatcher.
Yes.
He's kind of got this same thing going on where he can just like communicate with rats. I think if anyone out there has seen the Suicide Squad, like the newest one that came out, there's a female rat catcher. What do they call it? Rat Catcher 2? I think in the comics they use I think they use tools. I think the original rat catcher in the comics used like a whistle. But he could communicate with rats, and he lived in the sewers and whatnot, and could use swarms of rats to attack people. And
Yeah.
That's actually what made me think of this movie, or this movie series, I should say. Was I was reading some Batman comics, and he popped up, and I'm like, oh man, there's movies about killer rats, and so that's why I was wanting to check this one out because. Rats are cool. I don't have a problem with rats.
Good. So when
Good.
I bring you like 5 of them, you won't be freaking out.
No, I already want to name them. I already want to name my rats.
Willard.
No, Willard wasn't a rat.
You want to name him Willard?
No, I'm gonna name one Otis. Otis, because that was the actual name of the rat catcher, Otis Flanagan. Um, if I get a little white one, I want to name it Socrates. I'll name it Socrates. But no, I don't want like 5 rats. Probably just like maybe 1 or 2. I don't need a whole lot.
So, what was your favorite part of the movie?
My favorite part of the movie, um, my favorite part of the movie was, I mean, there's so many good parts to this movie. I want to say Martin's death. I just want to say Martin's death because there cannot be a human being that. Well, I mean, there's plenty of human beings that are that bad, but I mean, that is just that is just mean, like hostile. I mean, I don't know exactly what Willard's dad did to this guy, but it seemed like Martin had it out for.
Oh, he did.
He had it out like personally for Willard. Like Willard had a bullseye on his back from this guy, and he went in there, asked for a raise. He hasn't had a raise since Martin took over the company, and no matter how much work he did, days, nights, weekends, whatever, he was never going to get that raise. And but then when Willard was hard on cash and he was trying to get that money for the taxes, I guess I don't know if he was someone who was working for the company or whatever, but he was going on a trip to Europe. He was going on vacation in Europe, and he ended up. What did he write? He said, Martin said, was telling that one lady. He said, write this man up a traveler check for like $8,000.
Yep, it was $8,000, which in 1971 would be the equivalent to 54,000 in 2021.
54,000.
The $8,000 check that he wrote is the equivalent to 54,000 if it was written this year.
Yeah, but I mean, what did that guy even do? Is that like the equivalent of me going to work? Is that like the equivalent of me going to work going, hey guys, I'm taking vacation, I'm going to Europe. Oh, hey, you know what? Let's just get this guy an extra $8,000.
Yeah, sure.
So he could take. So what you're telling me is that you have people over here who can't, they're asking for money to afford their house, and this guy is getting an extra $8,000, a bonus, because he also got like his paycheck a bit early too. But it was like, here's his paycheck plus an extra $8,000 so you could take this vacation to Europe. Now, Willard, give me your house.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, so I did like when you find that, and Mom was like, is someone I just want to see someone I'll see the rats eat someone.
My God. This movie went so long without anything happening, and everything was just all whimsical all the time.
I think, yeah, I think.
My favorite was when he stood up to the aunt, where he's like, give me the keys. And she's like, if you take these keys from me, you'll never see me again. Give me the keys.
Yeah, because his mom died.
Yep.
She died, quote unquote, of natural causes. And he was at work at the time, and the aunt said she died at like 9-something in the morning.
Yep, and he didn't get notified till like later that afternoon.
He didn't get notified until like that afternoon.
They had already taken the body out and everything.
It seemed like it was relatively quick. Like when Martin got the call, he pretty much sent Willard home. So either one of two things happened. Either the aunt didn't bother to call the work and she waited until the afternoon to do it, or she had been calling since the mother's death and Martin didn't do anything until he finally picked up the phone and took the call. So either way, that is like one of the most horrible things ever. Is just knowing that like your mom passed and you're just you get notified about it at the end of the day when it happened, like first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
That is just horrible. So he did have a lot of horrible things to him, and like I said, it is a tragedy. It is this is by all definitions a tragedy, not quite a horror, but you're using rats to kill people, so horror, I guess.
There was one other thing that was my favorite scene besides that one. And it was when they would show Ben, especially towards the end, and he just had the most evil look.
He was mean mugging that camera.
He's just like,
He was mean mugging that camera. Every time he had just like the little triangle lights. Like, yeah, he was not a happy camper like at all. I mean, I can understand why. There's a bit of favoritism. It's like Socrates got to sleep in the bed. Ben, you get back downstairs with the other rats. So.
Well, it is time for the IMDb rating.
IMDb rating.
So, on a scale of 1 to 10, everybody, there were 4.9 thousand ratings given on IMDb for Willard. Everybody put your vote in. On a scale of 1 to 10.
Scale of 1 to 10, and remember, this is Price is Right rules.
Yes, it is.
Scale of 1 to 10. I'm gonna go with a.
PJ with the 4.7.
4.7. You thought it did that bad?
Remember, these are fans, PJ.
Well, I mean, IMDb. I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it an 8.7. I'm gonna put it up there. 8.7. Hold on, let me punch it in. Boom, boom, boom. 8.7.
All right. Who's
Raven.
Next? Now, Ravenfire, if we all remember from last week, took 2 out of 3, with Jason taking 1 out of 3. Let's see if somebody can dethrone Ravenfire this week.
I know she's kind of, spoke to her earlier. She's multitasking a little bit, so she might not be right there at the keyboard. So,
Well, does anybody else want to take a whack at it? I'll give y'all a couple more minutes.
Oh, Raven comes in with a 5. Wait, no one has high hopes for this movie.
Oops, something just fell. That was very loud.
What? That was. I didn't hear anything. So.
Oh, yeah, it's all good.
Oh no, German's off camera.
Yeah.
Jim, what's that thing behind you? What is that 86? Something 96?
What?
Thing in your closet. Behind you.
Oh, 88. It's the Chicago Blackhawks jersey.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Ooh, Amber 13 says 6. Oh, we got us a new challenger up in here.
Looks like we got ourselves a challenger.
Challenger. So 4.7, 8.7, 5, and 6.
And the winner
Oh, don't leave us in suspense, Jeremy.
is Amber. The IMDb was 6.2 out of 10. Jason, you are over. Everybody.
Darn it.
And Price is Right rules. Amber is the closest.
Wow. That was, she just slid in there and was like, boom, nailed it.
Ravenfire, you have been. That's 1. Let's see if you can take the other 2 and keep your throne.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to Rotten Tomatoes.
We are at
So,
the Rotten Tomatoes.
Yep. So for all of you out there who don't know, who are new to our programming, towards the end of our podcast, we usually do a rating system where we'll do the IMDb rating for the movie. We'll all take a shot at it. And then we'll do the tomato meter, which there's 2 of them. there's the critics, and then there's the fans, and then we'll throw in our personal rating on the movie. So now we're moving on to tomato. And what is this? 1 out of 100.
Yes, both the Rotten Tomatoes are 1 out of 100.
So this is up to 100%. This is the critics.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go with. You know what? I'm sticking to my guns. I'm just taking the point out.
87%.
So I'm gonna go 87.
Ravenfire says 70.
87, 70, 68, and Amber says 74. We were really close up in there. We're all just kind of hugging that high spot.
Oh man.
Oh, please tell me I overshot this again, didn't I?
Unfortunately, there's no winner.
Oh my God, did we all overshoot?
The tomato meter is a 52%.
There's no
It's
way.
a splat.
This is not a.
This is a splat.
I hate Rotten Tomatoes sometimes.
The movie, however, persists in crossing its lines of stimulation, resulting in a series of little short circuits that effectively limit pleasure to an occasional line or bit of business.
It was not bad.
Man's
It wasn't-
shoddy staging, haphazard framing. He seems to be allergic to close-ups, and low contrast lighting sap the drama and tension from most of the movie. The ending is cool though.
What? Yeah, this entire movie's terrible, but you know what? The ending's pretty cool.
Really little more than a crudely directed revenge thriller.
I don't think these people understand.
All
I
right.
think they just I just don't think they like rats.
So now Amber still leads with 1. And going into the audience score 0 to 100.
So now these are for the fans. The fans. And you know what? 78. That's what I'm going with. Switch them around a little bit. Because I think this movie's higher than a 50 whatever.
PJ with the 68. Raven with the 42. Man, she dropped that thing.
She's on the safe side right now. She's like, I'm dropping it down. I know where the 50 lies. We're going to go below that. I'm going to win this thing if I have to throw in a 1. Amber is a 72. All right. Jeremy, what are the results?
Amber, you are the champ for this week with 1 right. Because again, everybody overshot with the audience score being 37%.
37?
Oh, Ravenfire, don't be like that. You know you care about. You were on top for like three weeks.
Yeah, you were champ for a while. This is this movie. This is a fantastic movie, and no one can see it. This is one of the best movies out there, and no one can see it. No one. No one appreciates a good rat movie.
Oh, Jason, I know you already know, but just wait till my single movie in 3 weeks.
Actually, I was trying to make a theme out of this, like, because I knew Willard was like a series of movies, and I was trying to find a solo one, and they actually have what they call a horror movie, but it's like a horror documentary, and it's called Rats. That's what it's called. It's called Rats, and it's a documentary on large rat infestations. They're talking about like New York and kind of the effects that these rat infestations have, and then they go over um to I don't know, I think it was India or something, but they were going over there talking about like this one temple or whatever that's got like a couple thousand rats in it, and people actually worship the rats, right? I guess they believe these are like the souls of the deceased or whatever. So they worship the rats, they feed them and all this stuff. And I was like, how is this documentary? How is this documentary horror? Well, apparently it's also about killing rats, and there is nothing but rat mutilation in this. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna sit here for an hour and a half and watch dogs chew on rats. It's not happening because apparently they did it for like a lot of shock value too. But you get like all the, it's like a horror movie for rats, like a slasher film. But I was like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, I don't need that.
So, Jason, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you give?
I'm gonna give it a 90. I am. This for me is a good movie. I like this movie. I like this movie a lot. The Willard's likable, and to a certain extent, he can be relatable. He's not this villain character who's out there just wanting to hurt people. I do think one of the drawbacks to this movie, it is very slow paced and it's not very horror related. I think that is a misgiven. Like the trailer really kind of flares it off as being a horror movie. But if you were to put this on at random, no one would be the wiser that this was a horror movie.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that's
it
what
does
hurts
come
it
out.
for me.
It does come out as a PG rating, so I mean, in the '70s they had what PG and
P-
R,
yeah, G, PG, and R.
so this got a PG rating. There's not a lot of blood, there's not a lot of gore or anything like that, but um, nothing, nothing too shocking in this movie. But
No.
I do like this movie a lot. It's a fun movie. The music is really kind of whimsical, as we like to keep saying. It's this. I mean, we didn't know what we were watching at first, um, but I think we're gonna have some fun. Hopefully next week with the sequel, Ben.
Yep. So we will see y'all next week. Same time, same campfire.
Wait, Jeremy, you didn't even give it a rating.
Oh, I thought I did.
Oh, you did. You asked me what the rating was. I said, well, I'm giving it a 90,
Oh.
and then
Oh,
and
snap.
you didn't give it. And anyone else out there who wants to throw down what they thought of the movie, give you or give us your own personal rating.
I give it a 7 out of 10. I think the
So,
things
okay. So I was doing Rotten Tomatoes, and you're doing IMDb.
70%, same thing. I just feel like it was very slow paced, just like you said, and the overall tone that the trailer gave was just not what the movie was. The trailer made it out to be this big dark horror movie, and it wasn't that. I mean, when your first lines in the trailer are, "You shouldn't watch this alone," and I get Willy Wonka. I mean, I guess I could see not watching Willy Wonka alone.
If you want to view paradise.
But like I said, the character was very likable. I'd watch it again. It was a good movie. But the things that did hurt it was just the pacing of it was slow and just misinterpreted from the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'll see if I can find a copy of the book and maybe try to get it read before we do the remake. probably not, but it'll be something to shoot for. And yeah, maybe I can give a comparison for all three.
Yeah, that'll work. Well, we will see y'all next week. Again, same time, same campfire. Y'all be safe, and we get ready for Ben, the evil rat.
Was he really evil?
Might as well been.
He was just misunderstood.
But y'all have a great night. Stay safe. We'll see y'all next week.
Good night.
Where Willard ended, Ben begins. Ben is coming from Cinerama Releasing, and this time he's not alone.
Maybe he was Ben. That's the name of the leader of the rats. There were some pages from Willard's diary in the newspapers.
Those rats killed 3 people.
All residents, go in and stay in your houses.
Drive the rats in the tank area. They're eating us alive down there. There's millions of them.
And they're coming for you. They're coming. They're gonna burn you, Ben. And then they're gonna drown you. Run, Ben. Run, please.
Ben and his army of rats are on the way.